Hi, so Journey to the Grand Tournament. This is going to be a series that is updated as and when. What's basically happened is, after like over 10 years of being out of Warhammer Fantasy, last roughly Easter, I decided to get back into it. Slow start to begin with in terms of getting into Age of Sigmar. I happened to pick roughly, had nothing to do with second edition being imminent as well. It was just pure coincidence that it was all just happening at the same time, which is a good thing because first edition, oh my god. So second edition is much better and one that you can actually play properly with match play. And what had happened was back then I was going, right, I need about a year to get myself back into it, then get into the tournaments in 2019. But as time has gone on, the local gaming club, there's a few people interested in it, getting a few games now and then. Tends to be the smaller games, unfortunately. But also trying to use Games Workshop website to try and find any information. I keep looking at the calendar and it's like, well, the calendar for the year, and it keeps saying nothing on, as if there's no events on at all. And you're thinking, well, are there no events? Do they put these events on at the last minute? What's going on? And I was talking about this in the local gaming club, and someone happened to be saying, oh no, because they were talking about going to an event quite soon, next month. And I was asking, what is this? What is this? Is it of interest to me? She says, what you want is the Grand Tournament. I said, yes, what I want is the Grand Tournament. But I can find no information on it. She says, oh, you should go onto this thing. So it's really dubious how you find out about these things. But she pointed me in the right direction. So when I came back on Friday evening, I looked at things. There was 3 heats. And I thought, right, there's basically one next month. Well, I'm not going to be ready for that. There's one in May. And then there's one in June. And I thought, right, well, the June will be the best one because I have not prepared for this at all yet because I'm thinking to myself, do they even do them anymore? So I tried to get a ticket for the June one. Unfortunately, they've sold out. So I've got one for Heat 2, which is May. So the situation is I've put myself on a list for the June. So let's say in a month or two, someone pulled out of that one, wanted a refund on the ticket. And I got I don't know where I am in a queue, by the way, but let's say I was notified for it. I would, if there's time, cancel my Heat 2 ticket and get the Heat 3 ticket. That's the one I'd prefer. But at the moment, I have to assume that I'm going to Heat 2, which is on the 4th of May. So that's just under 3 months' time. That is not very long to get ready for it. So what have I got to accomplish in the next few months? Bear in mind, I've not played any Age of Sigmar tournaments, but I have played Warhammer Fantasy Battle Grand Tournaments over 10 years ago. Wow, God. Be nearer 15 years ago now, wouldn't it? So, important things. First of all, is to find a decent hotel. Find a suitable hotel. Not that the hotel itself matters. What matters is that it has parking. When I first started going to grand tournaments, the first hotel I tried to book, went there, and it turned out that although they had parking for customers, it was like they had so many, let's say 12 rooms, but 3 parking spaces. That's not really what I call parking because if there's no one there, then there's no one there. Now, I discovered this before I went, so I ended up going right at the last minute, deciding, right, I'll just get the train because obviously I bet there's no parking space for me, which is because this is the process that I need to do. I need to be able to, and this unfortunately will be in term time. It would have been way better if it could have coincided with the school holiday, but you can't have everything. So I'm going to be at work on the Friday. Get home, I'll have everything packed, drive down to Nottingham, book myself in. So I need a hotel that I can book myself in on the Friday. Then I need to, so I need to be able to park there. So the next morning I need to drive to Warhammer World, do the tournament the first day, then drive back and know there's a parking space for me back there. Sunday, repeat the same thing, except of course not drive back because I'll have booked out of the hotel for then because I'll drive straight back home after the tournament ends. Very busy weekend, but actually June's not, actually, what am I talking about June for? June's the one I want, it's May I've got. That still won't be terribly bad though, because by the time May comes and you're on a bit of a, work is not as busy at that time of year as it is for the rest of it. So I'll still be okay then. So yes, I'm going to start hunting for a suitable hotel that will guarantee suitable parking. And so that's that. I'm not bothered really what it costs. I don't care about the quality of the hotel as such, as long as it's got a bed and a roof and a door, preferably at the room. What I really want is the parking space. The rest of it to organise, of course, I've got to decide on what army I take. I've got to paint that army, and I've got to practice with the army. The armies I've got so far: Nighthaunt army, Nurgle army. I'm not planning on taking a Nighthaunt army. The Nighthaunt army, you know, you've seen a lot of that stuff, but that's purely because it's the first one I painted, and that's the reason for that is because when I first started getting into it, my initial one was of course Skaven. Skaven was my favourite army, so I was building up Skaven, and then realising that the Skaven book was a load of rubbish. Thank God for the one that's coming out in 6 days' time now. And Nighthaunt, I thought, right, I'd already wasted a lot of time planning a Skaven army, and I wanted to get into playing it. And although I'd joined the Facebook group for the local gaming club, I thought, well, there's no point in going down there until I've got things to play with. What can I paint really quickly? I had all the stuff for the Nighthaunt. I thought, well, I'll just paint Nighthaunt. That's easy, isn't it? Which it was. So I was able to quickly do that. And I did it for a 2,000 point army, then found out the local gaming club no one plays 2,000 point games. Never mind. So I'm not really sure. Although it'd be interesting. I wouldn't discount it, but I wouldn't be planning on it either. Second thing is Nurgle. I have a Nurgle army. I could even make a 2,000 point Nurgle army. Now, I'm not saying it would be the same one I would take there. It definitely wouldn't. But again, I'd only have to add a few units to it to make it much stronger, and I could go with that. The thing I've got to consider, though, is when you decide on an army list, and the army list is the most crucial part. I've sort of mentioned this before, but when it comes to trying to win a game, the most important factor is your army list. And it's the thing you've got the most time to mull over. You know, you can spend months planning your army list. The next thing is having a coherent strategy for it. It's no good coming up with a list of units that are individually brilliant. You've got to have a plan. And that plan's got to take into account the fact that your opponent may be someone who rushes headlong into you. It may be someone that's got like reserve options so they can plonk units and transport units around very easily. It may be a fast army, it may be a slow army, maybe an army that stands back and shoots with pretty nasty missile fire. May have a lot of magic, may not have much magic at all. May fly, may not fly. May scupper your flying, may not. That's one of my worries about Nighthaunt. If you've got anything that's got anti-flying rules, and there's a few that have, it worries me because my entire army flies. So I don't really want to give them too many bonus points there. That's my main worry as with Nighthaunt as a tournament list. The second worry is the fact I've not really seen Nighthaunt doing well yet, which suggests that some of my fears about the army are founded. So yeah, so you've got to have that strategy, you've got to have that army list. Then when you get into the game itself, I mean, obviously deploying well is important as well. What you do in your first turn really sets you up for the whole battle. And then what you have to do after that is relatively straightforward, I'm going to say. You can still make mistakes. I've made mistakes. But generally speaking, if you've designed a list with a coherent strategy, you've deployed to take best advantage of your strengths. And in the first turn, you've moved to set yourself up for your plan. All you really have to do is carry it out, I think. So yeah, coming up with the army list. Now, here's what I need when deciding on, because I don't even, it's not even a case of that I would decide on allegiance. You might think to yourself, oh, well, you know, the Skaven book's coming out next week. You're really excited about that. You're going to take Skaven. Probably not. Probably not. I'm not going to say definitely not. The problem I always had with Skaven as a tournament army with Warhammer Fantasy Battle, which doesn't exist to the same extent now, this may be totally unfounded, is I actually did take my first season with Fantasy Battle Grand Tournaments, I took Skaven. And mostly it was fine. But there were a couple of players I came across who were just slowing down the game every opportunity. And it's one of those things, in Fantasy Battle it was 6 turns. And as an army as Skaven were, which was essentially, although there was some shooting, it was essentially an infantry army that had to race forwards. So the first couple of turns you are only taking losses. You are not going to be scoring any victory points yourself. Turns 3 and 4, if things went well, is when you'd start to turn the tide. Turns 5 and then especially turn 6 is when you would win, if you were going to win at all. So you have someone slowing down the game to the point where you only get 3 turns in it, you're snookered. You're absolutely snookered. And even if, you know, you don't lose, the way I mean, a little bit different now with Age of Sigmar, but the way it worked at the time is you know, to do well in the tournament, you didn't just have to win, you had to win big. So, yeah, so that puts me off. But of course, Skaven is a different type of army now in Age of Sigmar. And also Age of Sigmar is very different itself. You know, you get your major victory or your minor victory, depending on if you get more victory points than your opponent, then you get your major victory. If it goes down to units killed, then it's minor victory. So, you know, I might. But then the other problem was just in terms of the sheer number of models. So what I found was it's better to have a more elite army. Fewer models, more elite. So that puts me in mind of that. And that still, I think, is the case now. Because you look at these games, I was looking at the schedule, and it's like the first game of both days, there's 5 games over the 2 weekends. There's 3 on the Saturday, 2 on the Sunday. And the first game for each day is they give you 2.5 hours for it. That's all right. That's fine. But then the other the other 3 games, 2 games, more games on the Saturday and 1 on the Sunday, it only gives you 1.5 hours. 1.5 hours is not a lot of time. For a 2,000 point game, that's not a lot of time. So I'm again of the mind that I was when I was playing Fantasy Battle after that first season. Get my turn done quickly. No umming and ahhing, no messing about. Get it done quickly. Because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to need to use my prop again, right? I'm going to be taking a roster which has all the information for my army on it. Everything I could possibly need so that I don't have to go scanning through things, looking through books to find out what I need to know. It will all be in there. I would think some of the more serious opponents I may come across may do the same thing, but that won't be every player there. So 1.5 hours, not a lot of time. And although Age of Sigmar can be over within a few turns if you do really well, you know, it may not. And there's a lot of times when you get slowed down. And you have to be very careful as well that in your haste, because I do this a lot, in your haste you can easily forget some rules of your own army because you decide to stop looking at that. You just want to get your turn quickly, eye on the clock, and you're not then paying attention to your risks. I did this just in a game that I played on Friday. It was against a Goblin player. It was their first game as well. And although I won, it was because they couldn't get down to the club until about 8 o'clock. Well, that was getting on a bit. So it was going to be quick. It needed to be quick to get the actual game done. And in my haste to get my turns done, I neglected to look at my sheet and then missed out on an awful lot of things. So it needs to be an army that I think where I'm not going to make those, where there aren't ridiculous numbers of rules, not going to make those mistakes. The other thing is, I want to play in a legion. Obviously, this is competitive tournament. So I want to play a list that's competitive. But I also want to play a list that I would like playing. So when you come to going back to Nurgle, for example, I've seen someone do really well with just 3 Great Unclean Ones and 3 units of Plague Bearers. And you can see how that will do well. It's not really for me, that's not for me. So I need to come up with a list that's going to be really strong. But that I will enjoy playing. That I won't feel I'm just doing it for the sake of being cheesy. So that will be a tricky one. In terms of the coherent strategy, I mean, we're going to be playing, the way it works out is there are 6 battle plans in the core rules. We're going to be using 5 of those 6 battle plans. I don't think it's even randomly determined. I think they just tell us, with each round, I think they just say, right, you're going to be using this battle plan. So capturing objectives is going to be important. I need to come up with a list that's going to have to be strong in all 6 of those battle plans, because I know I'm going to be playing 5 of them. And it's all about that. So I need to think about that as well. In which case, I'm probably not going to be using an army that just stands back and shoots. Even though you could do that with Skaven. I'm inclined not to. So I'm going to be giving a serious consideration to things I might do. Now, given that in terms of the timing of this, I haven't got long. I think I need to give myself no more than 1 month to really decide what list I'm going with. It doesn't have to be a finalised list, but I at least need to decide on the allegiance and a core of that army, because I need to be getting those models and getting them painted if I don't already have them, and it may well be that I don't. So which ones would I consider? I'm not likely to go for Nighthorns. I'm not ruling it out yet until I've decided. But I'm not ruling anything out until I've decided. But I'm not likely to go for that. I may go for Nurgle. It's quite reliable. I think it's decent. I may toy around with some of that. And of course, I've already got some of it painted. Skaven is a possibility. It's always a possibility. But the lots of models, moving them around, time taken. Same thing with Legion of Nagash. If I took Legion of Nagash, although you could make a very elite army out of it, I would want a good solid block of skeletons and a good solid block of zombies. Crypt Fiends, Flesh Eater Cuts. I could definitely think about those. You know, they're coming out newly as well. Daughters of Cain is a possibility. Yeah, I'm not sure though. They're one I want to do. But I'm not sure for the tournament. I want something solid. I'm not sure they're all that solid. I think, you know, you can easily make a mistake with them and mess everything up. Idoneth Deepkin is certainly a good possibility. That's a strong possibility. Again, whether, given that I know over the next month I'm going to be painting Skaven and Flesh Eaters, I want to go that. I'm not sure. I probably think at the moment what I'd be thinking in terms of is, actually, if I'm going to be honest, Beasts of Chaos, Nurgle, Skaven, Stormcast Eternals, very strong possibility those. They're decent indeed. I think those are the four that I'd at the moment be thinking of. I think I'll play about with some lists of those and fine tune it from there. So yeah, I reckon I've given myself a month to come up with at least a core. Then another month to paint it. By the end of that month, so it's like, you know, the first week I'm painting that. By the time I've finished painting the core of it, I really need to have decided on the rest of the army, I think. So I'd probably say 5 or 6 weeks to decide on the rest of the army. And then that'll give me a few weeks to get some practice in. Hopefully try and bend someone's ear at the club and say, can we play some bigger games? Do you mind doing it? The problem is, of course, if people aren't really geared up for it, they'll just sling 2,000 points together of whatever. The issue is, I mean, this is the way the heats work. You've got these 3 heats, and the top so many from them, I don't know how many go into them. The top so many will qualify for the Grand Tournament finals, which would be like in September, I think. Obviously, I'd like to do that. I would like to do that. I'd never failed to qualify when I did it before Fantasy Battle. Although then I'd had more practice. This time, I won't have any real practice at all. I'll be up against, although there may be some other players that know better than me, I'll be up against some players who are practicing a bit and have played their army certainly for longer than I will have done. So I am really going to have to make sure that I don't, I mean, the biggest danger is just forgetting beneficial rules that your army has. And also learning about the other ones. I've got quite a few battle tomes now. I need to get some proper reading done there. And really learn about the others. Because another thing, although I'm wanting to come up with a list that will be able to capture objectives with every single one of those 6 battle plans, I'll also be thinking of something else in hand. I want to go through every single likely list and think to myself, what's the biggest, nastiest thing in it? Because I reckon everyone takes a big, nasty thing. So in Nurgle, against Nurgle armies, how do I take out the Great Unclean Ones? Against Tzeentch armies, how do I take out the Lord of Change or the named Lord of Change, the special character? In Legions of Nagash, how do I take out Nagash? He's going to be in there. Daughters of Cain, Marathi, you know, the big nasty things. How do I take them out? So there's several strategies that I need a list that will be able to fulfill. So that, as I say, is the work for the next few weeks. The end of which, hopefully, I'll be able to update you on that. Unless I make quicker progress, but we'll see. That's my painting focus is going to be Skaven, but list focus is going to be Grand Tournament. So anyway, I will keep you updated as and when. If you've got any comments, then put them in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, then don't forget to click the like button, subscribe for further content. Until next time, I'll see you later.